My name is Mike Rikkola. I've been in the mining industry working for Komatsu for 25 years. I'm out of Milwaukee. I'm the director of analytics, and I've been in this role for roughly about a year and a half.
Trevor Griffiths. I'm the Smart Solutions Manager in Australia. Been with Komatsu 15 years in the mining game for about 20. Smart Solutions is our big data analytics group within Komatsu. And like Mike, good to have the opportunity to talk to everyone. And we've heard some interesting things around management of data, and which resonates with us through our journey, which started a couple of years ago. So, Mike.
It was definitely refreshing to see that, especially this panel that was before us. It's reassuring to see that we kind of agree on the path forward. That there's an opportunity to work across borders, distribute data, and do things a little bit smarter. As I was getting ready for this presentation, I was reflecting on how much things had changed in the last 15 years. If you look back in 2001 at the largest companies by market cap, there's some really, really big corporations in there. There's a financial, there's a consumer goods, there's a big industrial, there's a petrochemical. And you look in 2015, it's completely changed. We've got Apple, we've got Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet. That's the parent company for Google. If you look at kind of the very macro theme to that, there's a lot of reasons why the list has changed. But in all reality, a simplistic view is to look at these companies have transformed our industry, transformed our way of doing things, transformed our economy in various different ways. And if you look at that various thing of transformation, oh, you went too fast. You look at Facebook, how we communicate, how we interact, that's the norm right now. If you go back to Google, how do you find something on the internet? First place you go, more than likely, you look it up on Google. Microsoft has had some staying power. Somehow they've also reinvented themselves. They're not selling licensed software anymore. It's more as a service. They've introduced a cloud platform. Next one. With Apple's transformed from originally from being a displacer of the Walkman. Back in when you're listening to music, you're jogging, you're working out. I don't do that very often. To the dominant, market cap product that's out there. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is, and I put some business added value applications. These are, anyone wants to play Words with Friends with me later, let me know. I'm sure most of you guys know what all these icons are. I don't even have to describe them. But they transformed and created essentially, maybe they didn't create it, but they perfected an industry, the app economy. I think I was reading that it was like a $25+ billion industry in the App Store that they made last year. They took home $11 billion out of that. That's completely transformational. It's a market where you're able to go and create a set of software and sell it and monetize it. It's distributed in a different way and a different approach. You look at Amazon, especially in the United States, it's completely reformed the retail industry. Brick and mortar has gone almost by the wayside. There's some big box stores that are just going away. What they've done is they've actually created a system to be able to sell what people want. Where else could I go from Milwaukee and buy a daddle? There's not a lot of spots. There's no daddle stores near my house. I went and looked. But they've created a connection between a consumer and a seller, and an entire process that is kind of streamlined. Just so you know, the daddle is available for $39.99 US, and they can, Father's Day in the US is June 17th. So if you're looking for a good idea, call up Amazon, you can get yourself a daddle. All right, I'll get to the serious stuff now. The other thing that's coming into, and was kind of hinted at in the previous panel, is that there's a new generation of people hitting the workforce. One that has never been around when there wasn't fast internet access. One that has grown up completely connected. That wants to move, that wants to be valued, that's socially conscious. That I thought there was a really good one, this bottom comment, that 150 plus times a day, people are going to check their phone. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. That means by the end of this discussion, you'll have looked at your phone 3 times. Everyone. So there's an expectation and a mandate from the new set of people that are going to really transform mining, that they want to be part of the decisions. They want to make decisions. They want to be empowered. They want to be mobile. They want to be connected. So when we look at that and we combine that with this transformational aspect, you get to the data democratization concept. It's where we have a deliberate and systematic dissemination of information. We're doing it on purpose. We know what we're doing. There's a reason behind it. We're giving access to the people that need it. It's crossing the silos, the technical silos, the organizational silos. You might not go intercompany quite yet. I don't think anyone's quite ready for that. But really for the intent of maximizing our latent human capital. That human capital are those knowledge, skills, and abilities, the wisdom, everything that the experiences that you have in your staff and your employees and your organization. That's really good stuff. They have a lot of smart people in mining. It's just brilliant people. But a lot of times they're held back by either a role or a lack of information or just not knowing any better. You know, I believe from a technology standpoint, that problem will get solved. There's always a way to connect databases. There's always a way to distill data. Getting into the process and the concept of tying that all together to setting up a culture where you're able to consume that data, make decisions at the lowest level with the least amount of latency, with the greatest amount of impact to whatever process or problem you're trying to solve. That's really the fuel for a step change. I know Andrew Jess is going to get a big head on his shoulders, but I thought his example on the RPM with RPM and Mindware this morning was a perfect example of democratization of data. Really, you're taking, and that we talked about again on this panel, there's the ability to have an operator that all he wants to do is the best possible job he can do, and you have a mine planner who wants to operate their mine plan exactly as they can, so they can stay on budget, stay on task, save all the money that they want to do. But they rarely ever talk. There's no way set up for them to communicate, to interact, to merge their collective knowledge. So this ability to be able to foster this culture where we say, Mr. Operator, I need you to do this task, I need you to execute it. You decide the best way to do it. We're going to help you and guide you. You feed that back into the mining planner and the mining plan software. We'll probably tie it into maintenance, and there'll be some sort of accounting that's tied into all that, and all the way up to the C-suite. That culture that allows employees to make decisions is part of that. If you just give them data and don't allow them to do anything, you're going to lose them. I think there's a mandate, we talked a little bit about it, to make the data understandable. It's got to be consumable, understandable, actionable. It's not just good enough to put a bunch of squiggly lines out there. It doesn't do anyone any good. And you got to make sure that you have a way to, a system, a process, a culture change to deliver data across to the right levels to make decisions. At Komatsu, this is a very generic approach to how we use democratized data. There's always some sort of data source, whether that's a file or a system, a machine, a set of people with some notes. That gets put into a way that we ingest it. It could be various forms. And we clean it, we prep it. That could be something like an ETL. It could be something like anything like that. We view it and we verify that it looks good. And then I heard a term I liked today called propeller heads. Then we have the propeller heads come in. There's a propeller head right there. Over there. And they create algorithms that help explain, to make put the data into context, to apply the right amount of filtering or whatever needs to happen in there, and then that gets communicated. It could be back into the system, it could be into some sort of report, it could be into an ERP system, SAP, or it could go back onto the machine. It could tell the operator how to do their jobs even better than they're doing them today. We found that keeping that and sending that data out from a Komatsu standpoint, we're on our 3rd generation analytics platform, 2.5, 3. And that when we centralized everything and we had centralized all our functions, all our decision making, everything we did, we were the smartest guys in our room, but it didn't do any good because there was no one in the mines in our room. So by taking that approach, flipping it over, giving our regional teams, giving our customers the access and the ability to do what they needed to do their jobs, was a really empowering thing for us. And that kind of has really accelerated our development, our value add, our value capture, and ultimately solving problems. There you go. I'm going to hand you over to Trev, and he's going to give you some examples of how this all works.
Okay, so what we'd like to do is run through some of the examples that we've had where we've applied some of the smart solutions strategies, if you like. We've got 2 examples, one around the use of our equipment and then the other around the maintenance of our equipment. So just before we start, we touched on the importance of collecting your data in one format, in the right format. Our manager for analytics who's sitting here, we were talking about this recently, and he believes that the actual how you manage your data, where you store it, how you store it, is actually more important than the people writing the algorithms that apply or access that data, which is an interesting observation. We've gone through a transformation over the last 5 to 6 years, and certainly one thing that always sticks in my mind when we started writing algorithms to do certain things with our data, we moved from an older platform to a newer one, and we migrated one algorithm that took 6 to 7 days to crunch data. We moved to the new platform, now it takes 2 minutes. So that was a really hit home for me to say, we've got to keep moving, we've got to keep progressing, but we need to know what we need to do with the data and how we need to access it, because it's going to save a lot of time, obviously. So we have a picture here, a synchronization of a drone with showing the example of the data we get off, to provide that real time, but also that validation on how we're using it. And the first instance is realistically about we were thrown a challenge by a customer on how we were going to correct an operator behaviour in that sense. So the challenge is changing operator behaviours, right? Challenging to say the least, but at least now in this instance, and I'll explain quickly, is that our loaders are designed to attack the face in a straight direction. We apply more torque to the engines or to the wheels if it is in a straight line. If it's in an articulated fashion, which gets done quite often, then they lose power, they lose productivity, not to mention the forces that go through the equipment and cause cracking and lose tyres. And you know, a good example is losing tyres, and at $80,000 a tyre or a change out, it becomes a significant downtime and a significant cost. So how do we fix that? We have no way on the machine currently to identify these events. We know that they do them, the operators know that they do them, but until you identify that fact, it's really just hearsay. So what do? New fashion is to create an analytic to identify what we call an AFE. So articulated face engagement, we shortened it AFE because we got sick of saying articulated face engagement. So that was the first thing that we've done. But you can see the analytics or the algorithm is a decision tree type scenario where we take the speed, we take the direction, we take the articulation angle, we take the intent of the operator, we live stream that, and when we create an event, which is an AFE, we then deliver it to the people that need to get it delivered to. And that's the whole data democratization part of it, is getting in the information to the people that need, so they can make, empowering them to make decisions, and they need to make them quickly. They need to make them intra-shift or per bucket if they need to. But it can't be at the end of the week, it can't be at the end of the month. It's just too late. So that's what smart solutions is about. Taking the complexity out of the data, working our magic, if you want to call it, and it's smoke and mirrors is what we often get referred to in our company, but and then providing that information for an actionable item for our customers or internally as well. So what does that results are? So the AFE count at start of our project was 1,023 a month. Considering they're not supposed to do any, we were found that figure to be quite alarming. So once we started applying this concept, in 4 months we literally got rid of them, down to 26 a month. So it was a very significant impact for us. Obviously then that drives up production, it drives up reliability, and it lowers costs. So, you know, how do we use this data democratization? You know, that's a really good indication of what an impact you can make in a short time, just by having the right information at the right time. So that's from our operator use perspective. So in terms of maintenance, which we are a little bit more advanced in, you know, we approach with the statement of, if we have to go looking for a problem on our equipment, then we're already behind. So we need to bring those problems to the surface, and even better, identify them before they're even a problem. So that is the challenge that Smart Solutions takes up, and that's certainly the approach that we have. So again, the problem being in our P&H shovels is the air system. Everything on that, most things on the shovels consumes air, down the filtration system of the house, the brakes, the lube system. So when you get a problem in the air system, it can be anywhere in the machine. There's only one compressor or sometimes two. So they said, you know, and we identified it early, that air system issues are a global problem, so how do we fix it? So again, you know, our approach isn't about sitting down and looking at the squiggly lines to notice change. We build code to do that for us. Processors are really good at doing all the heavy lifting and ingesting the data. So we wait for our code to identify changes, and then we get the experts to go analyse that change and provide information to our customers. So just a quick one on there, on the left-hand side, you can see a step change in the duty cycle of the air compressor, so something is consuming more air. And then on the right-hand side, or in the middle, where the circle is, you can see specifically the brakes on our application. So all of a sudden, we can tell that customer that you have an air system problem. We've identified on the left, and we think it's in your brake system from the position in the middle. So already we're 2 layers down into the diagnostics of this particular problem. So this case example, as we saw, it was detected on the machine. We contacted the customer. it put the power of the scheduler to say, we don't think we have a problem, we know we have a problem, so I'm going to schedule something in to do something about it. It's not causing any problems on the machine, but I can see from the Smart Solutions team that it's going to be if I don't do something about it. So you're not approaching the machine wondering if you're going to find something, you're going to the machine looking for a specific problem, and it's a big difference. It's a massive mindset change in terms of you're looking for something instead of wondering if something's going to be there. So, to add to this, the brake system holds up, 100 plus tonnes in the dipper, so it becomes a bit of a safety concern for the poor old truck driver at times. So, results, the hose was changed. They went down the inspection, the hose was changed and down event, no safety incidents or downtime recorded. And again, the whole idea is empowering maintenance, the maintenance scheduler. So, it seems like a very simple thing, but, I've got a technical background, so I used to crawl over these things everywhere. The fact that we can diagnose a cut in an air line from across the world now on any machine, I think is a significant difference in what we do. This instance is, it happened earlier this year. It was a bit of correspondence. They got on the machine and they saw this straight away, and it was one of those wins that you like to have, and it's such a simple thing, but that simple thing would have got bigger and bigger. Could the brake fail? Yes. Could the dipper fall down and crush someone? Yes. And you don't get those follow-on value additions. You'd like to claim them as valued additions, but you can't get that. All you can do is give the team a pat on the back and say, well done for picking it up before it became a problem. So, as I said, the fact that we can do that anywhere in the world is pretty cool. So where do we go? How far can we go with data democratization? In the instance of the operator, we want to put that capability to the operator in the cab as well as off the cab. With the maintenance event, we want to auto-feed that those anomalies into their system or more direct line. We do have to work on our delivery system to how we go from detect to action. But, as it says in here, what we're doing is matching our best asset is people and empowering them to do their jobs a lot more efficiently. And that's what, that's mostly what it's all about. So, we've got the statement the human mind's still the best computer we've got. We certainly believe that as well, but there is a lot of things that we can bring to them very quickly to make those quick decisions so they're more effective in their jobs. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.